Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It is Staci. I'm with the Feminist Power Tantra Movement. And today, and this month, Women's History Month, we are claiming full sovereignty and full equality for women and girls globally. And we are also claiming constitutional equality for US women and girls as our birthright. And the reality is that we are supported by most of the US citizens. January 27th, 2020, after 247 years of great feminists fighting for women's rights, we ratified the Equal Rights Amendment to the US Constitution. And that amendment says that basically you can't be discriminated based on your gender. That's it. It claims that women are equal to men, and so is anybody that is not identified as a man. So the Equal Rights Amendment would ensure protection, regard, and basic human rights for those who do not identify as men. So basically, it would make everyone in the US, every US citizen, equal based on gender. That's what democracy is, y'all. So that's a big deal. We, the people, support women, but often women don't actually feel that because we've never actually had a society that is based in the sacred masculine. And the most badass feminists I know are actually men. What that is, what the sacred masculine is they hold space. They hold safe space, strong space for the feminine. And we can think of this as an energy, not necessarily man and woman. They hold safe space for expression, emotional intelligence, ability to feel our feelings. The sacred masculine is basically unconditional love. And we're discovering that in our world as it's really coming in. So dominator society would say, man fights women. People of color fight people that aren't the same color. Democrats fighting Republicans, star bellies fighting the non-star bellies. That is old consciousness, and it's time for us to let that go. Okay, so we're going to do that. But I need to let you know that although we the people have ratified the Equal Rights Amendment on January 27th of 2020, all the areas of government, the president, the Congress, as well as the judicial branch have literally fought against the publication of ERA, even though we have given them full power to act on our behalf for 247 years, okay? So this is rooted in misogyny, and misogyny is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. We have been programmed to be women, or the feminine is a victim, and the masculine is the perpetrator. Okay, and that is a story. That is an illusion that is filtering out of this world. So we can absolutely publish the ERA. That would take public awareness, and we would literally need to force the bully on the playground to recognize women as equal citizens. Well, why is that a good idea? Well, we've proven time and time again is any species, if you honor, regard, respect, and protect the female of your species, everything gets better, okay? And I've talked to big deal economists, consultants to the US government about this, and often they say, oh, there's so many issues, I can't focus on one. Often they're men. And often men, it doesn't necessarily hit their radar screen because they have a whole different view of the world, a whole different perception than the feminine, okay? So the deal is most of the problems we have, most of the challenges we have are made by the human mind. And what is made by the human mind can be unmade by the human mind. And the beautiful thing we've proven time and time again, we see this in Scandinavian countries, we see this in some of our indigenous cultures, that if you honor the feminine of your species, then everything gets better. Everything gets lifted up. We are the voices for those who have none. Feminine power is the most untapped power that we have in the universe. Okay, so in yoga, we call this Shakti. Shakti is our creative life force energy. Women, we literally give life. And why would we want to subjugate those who give life? Well, it's all about a power struggle. Okay, and the 1%, they're losing their grip. They're losing their grip on the power. They're scared. We're the 99%. All we got to do, my sacred masculine consultants are just like, hey, take it. Just take it. Okay. George Washington, our founding father, he received his first human being, ownership of his first human being when he was 12. And Martha was literally his property as well. Women in our country started as property. And it's time for us to literally move from slave self to higher self. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to go into a little bit of the shadow side of the shadow government, the shadow systems. And a lot of it is also religion. I mean, there's that whole thing about getting burned at the stake. 10 million witches were burned at the stake. And there's a documentary called The Burning Times. It's on YouTube. You can check that out. Freaking fascinating. But bottom line, we've chosen in our Constitution the right to bear arms over the rights of women. So right now we're having a mass shooting in our country like every day. There's been more mass shootings than there are days of the year. So we could say it must be the guns. It must be the fact that we're having mental health issues. Oh, and back in the time of Prohibition, we passed Prohibition to protect women from getting beat up by drunken men. We did, straight out. Okay. We found out later that we can't actually legislate morality. We call morality because one person's morals might not match up with another person. So, Ken Burns, Prohibition, one. It's amazing to see the similarities of those times and now, because women are still getting beat up. And of course, the ERA was actually passed prior to the fall of Roe. So if you're a constitutional lawyer, help us. If you have resources, help us. We are done choosing war over women. Okay, so an example of this would be I was able to sit with an elder from one of our indigenous tribes in the US, and it was really interesting. She told us that the men, the warriors, if they wanted to go to war, they would need to talk to the clan mothers about that. And if the clan mothers said no war, then they wouldn't go to war. Now, why would they ask the clan mothers? Why would they? Because they're the ones that actually gave birth to the warriors, right? Okay. And sometimes they'd say yes, but it was a balanced decision. Sometimes we do need to fight. Now is the time we need to fight for what we do want. And the Equal Rights Amendment is something that we can do in 3D land. Okay. And as a Shambhala warrior, as a leader of the Shambhala warriors, that is on our radar screen as a 3D goal. Okay. We're going to choose love over fear and literally follow the frequency of unconditional love, which is our true nature. And the shadow matrix will never, ever, ever tell us who we are. And as feminists, we have time and time again given our power away, thinking that something outside of ourselves has the power. The places of power are inside of us. And it's the frequency of unconditional love. Okay. So moving forward, what's it going to look like? Okay. These are some ideas of some of my male consultants. What can we do? What can we do to force equality? We literally do need to force it time and time again. We've proven that unless they are forced to do so, the US government has not represented women so they can maintain power. Misogyny is a foundational piece of the dominator consciousness, straight out. Okay. In Iceland, they took a day off work. They got constitutional equality like that. Maybe in this country, we could take a couple weeks off work. We could go to court. Taxation without representation, absolutely. I think during the 70s, there was a sex strike. Of course, that's probably not going to work. Not going to do that. So ultimately, we have to choose unconditional love. It is the partnership between the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, and the expansion of our consciousness to move beyond what the dominator culture has falsely told us who we are. We cannot depend on anything outside of ourselves for the truth of who we are. And okay, we can look at places like Spain. There's a minister of equality in Spain. She's a woman. And she says straight out that violence against women is normalized. And I'm going to take that farther. We're going to take that farther with the Feminist Power Movement. We're going to say that violence against women is not only normalized, it has actually become entertainment and sex education for our children. And we want to know why there's a mass shooting every day. Okay? Violence against women has always been normalized in our country. We've never actually been held safe. We need to create that for ourselves from the inside out. And that makes me really sad because the potential, the potential that we have is huge, okay? And the anger, the pointing the fingers, the blaming, the shaming, and the fighting against is not an effective strategy, because that dominator consciousness is inside of everyone. And it is up to us to literally alchemize that energy, which is really powerful, because a lot of us are really passionate about equality. But when we point the fingers at other people outside of ourselves, and we look at the dominator outside of ourselves, we continue to feed the fire of division. So we're moving from being dumbed down and divided to up, aware, and united. We're moving from misogyny to literally worshiping the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, and moving towards from dominator consciousness into partnership consciousness. This is our destiny, and it's going to happen. Okay, and I cannot focus as a single woman. I don't have the platform. I don't have the resources to fight against the government. And I've been suspended off of social media for talking about these things. Nor do I want to. I want to focus on Tantra. Tantra is like I said, it's about expanding your consciousness. It's about the evolution of humanity. Okay? And the feminist movement is a perfect template for the evolution of human consciousness. And it's been really valuable for me to look at that. But I also realize I've been in a toxic relationship with the external power systems, and even focusing on the ERA for me doesn't make sense, because it just makes me sometimes more angry. So I'm taking the energy I've cultivated during US History Month, and I'm going to use that to love myself more unconditionally and love the people in my life, my family and my friends and my clients more unconditionally. Because it is the frequency of unconditional love that will fuel peace on earth. Okay? And publishing ERA in the 3D world will do a lot to bring forth the reclamation of the sacred feminine, the sacred masculine on planet Earth, if we are able to work together. Because we can't get caught up in the suffering of our world, but together, when we can, when it's on our radar screen, which this isn't even on anybody's radar screen because it's been buried. ERA has been buried. I guarantee it's on a kill desk. If they're suspending me, then it's on a kill desk. Okay. To give you another idea, the ratification of ERA requires the removal of a time limit was placed on the amendment by Congress. Okay. It's been on the Senate floor for 2-3 years now. They're not moving on it. The judicial system could ratify Virginia's vote, which was the 38th state required to ratify the ERA. They haven't moved on it. Bill Barr, when he was Attorney General, sent an opinion letter to the Department of Justice telling them to not move forward with ERA. So we're going to let some, dominator consciousness win, or we're going to work together. Okay. It's our choice. We're going to choose love, or we're going to choose to hide our head in the sand. Okay. Because it is unconditional love from the inside out, and the feminine energy is about feeling our feelings, working through some of the stuff we have coming up. A lot of us are going through a lot of our own shadow work. And the masculine energy is what holds that space. Okay. So my vision, my prayer for humanity is for us to move forward together as one family, equal, self-sovereign beings, towards our birthright of compassion, wisdom, and most of all, love. I invite you to reach out to me about equality. I have some ideas in terms of strategy, but bottom line, y'all, is love yourself unconditionally. It's about faith, whatever your faith is. It's not about specific beliefs. It's about faith in a higher power, whatever you want to call it, your higher self. And literally, we are evolving to a higher level of consciousness. And, some people are not going to they're not going to be on the team. They're going to go somewhere else, and that's okay. Okay. So it's time to choose love over fear. Okay. And together, we got this. Thanks for listening, and sending all of my love to you. Blessings.